Once upon a time, there was a pumpkin plant that grew 5 pumpkins. They were all best friends, and as they sat on their vine growing together, they would joke and laugh and bask in the sun together. The pumpkins were happy because they grew in good soil and had plenty of water and sun. And as they grew up, they became beautiful big pumpkins. All except one, all the way at the end of the vine. None of the other pumpkins knew why, but one day he just stopped growing while the other pumpkins kept getting bigger and bigger. Holiday, but he didn't mind because all he cared about was talking and laughing with his pumpkin friends. After a whole summer of good times, and growing, the pumpkins started to change color from green to orange. Even the smallest one, but the more orange they became, the more brown the vine they were growing on became. And a rumor started that when all the leaves on the vine were dead, that the pumpkins would turn to mush and rot in the field. But luckily, a family of 5 walked into the field one day, and they picked all 5 pumpkins to take them home and make them into jack-o'-lanterns. The pumpkins didn't know what it meant to be a jack-o'-lantern, but they were excited anyway. After a fun car ride full of jokes and laughing, the pumpkins were set up on a table and a bunch of knives were laid down by the family. And all of a sudden, the pumpkins got a little nervous. As each family member started to cut and carve away, the pumpkins were surprised to learn that being turned into a jack-o'-lantern really tickled. The pumpkins weren't nervous anymore. They were having a great time again and could barely stop laughing long enough to talk to each other. One by one, the pumpkins were finished being turned into jack-o'-lanterns, and they would turn to their friends and show off their scary new faces. Each one being scarier than the last. All the way till the last one, the smallest pumpkin. The other pumpkins had all their seeds cleanly scooped out, but the smallest pumpkin still had most of his seed inside. Where the other pumpkins had scary mouths with large teeth, the small pumpkin had a kind of droopy smile that looked very silly, where the other pumpkins had big scary eyes with candlelight shining through. The smallest pumpkin had little holes that candlelight could barely be seen through. When all the other pumpkins saw the smallest pumpkin, they laughed because they thought he looked so funny. That made the smallest pumpkin very sad. He never minded being the smallest, but he didn't like being the only pumpkin who wasn't scary. As the family walked all the pumpkins outside and lit candles and put them inside. All the other pumpkins were having a great time, but the smallest pumpkin just sat quietly on the porch and pouted. Soon people started walking by, and some of them would say how scary the big pumpkins looked, but some of them also said how silly the smallest pumpkin looked. The smallest pumpkin just kept getting sadder and sadder. And to make things worse, the smoke from the candle couldn't get out through his little eye holes and was making him feel very uncomfortable. The smoke built up enough that it made the smallest pumpkin cough right as a group of people walked by. He coughed so hard some of his pumpkin seeds shot right out of his silly mouth. When the people walking by heard the cough and saw the seeds fly out of the smallest pumpkin's mouth, they jumped and screamed and ran away. All the pumpkins laughed and looked at the smallest pumpkin. He said, "Excuse me," and smiled, and all the other pumpkins laughed even harder. The smallest pumpkin felt much better now because he might look a little silly, but he was actually the scariest pumpkin of all.